Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Morgan. I am the editor-in-chief of Eyecare Business Magazine, and I am here today at the Vision Council Executive Summit at the Omni Barton Creek Hotel and Resort in Austin, Texas. It is gorgeous here. The weather is fantastic, and I am really thrilled to be joined by you today. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
You just
I'm
gave
here all the time.
an amazing talk inside a keynote address to the summit attendees. We've got about 350 people
Yes,
here
full room.
today.
Yes.
And I would like to introduce you all to Johnny Taylor Jr. He is the CEO of the Society for Human Resource Management.
We call it SHRM.
SHRM.
SHRM, yes.
And man, you guys are in demand today.
Let me tell you, I didn't know when I took this job that it would be so in demand. It's like, well, I'm a lawyer by training, so I thought maybe I should go work for the ABA or something. But it was like, no, everything turned into work in the last 4 or 5 years.
No doubt. No doubt. Such so needed. And our industry is certainly no exception. And our readers are the optometrists, the opticians, the ophthalmologists, the practices, the independent practices out there that are really suffering through a hiring and training and retaining, kind of drama that everyone else in all other industries is going through.
But probably worse. Well, because you're small and medium-sized businesses. I mean,
True.
The big boys can always attract workers, can attract, if I'm at Apple, I can count on a certain amount of flow.
For sure.
Smaller and medium-sized businesses in specialty areas, it's probably really complicated.
No doubt. And it is really a specialty area, fitting eyewear and, working with the doctor or even the doctors themselves, just kind of that specialty. So it is really a challenge. And I know that you have this awesome book that you talked a lot about in your session. Can you tell us a little bit about the book and when did it come out and what's the focus?
Yes, so it's called Reset. And there's a much longer second line, but at the end of the day, an age of upheaval and all that good stuff. But it came out of my time during the pandemic. So I'm sitting in the pandemic, and we all remember the story, right? We thought 14 days, 21 days from now, we'll be back to normal.
Right.
And there was March, and then it was April and May, and by June, we all figured out, no,
Not
this is
happening.
the new normal. We're going to have to deal with this for a while. So I decided to chronicle, to write a book and say, is this a reset moment, where life literally changes in a way that probably once in a generation, not probably, hopefully it's once in a generation. And so here we are. Everyone's working remotely. People who, by the way, were not employed in the beginning are now getting unemployment checks. That was foreign, right? We've never given unemployment checks to people who were not previously employed. So the Uber driver now is getting a check from the government because there's no one for him to pick up.
Exactly.
Right? So a lot was going on. So I decided to chronicle how the world was changing. And that's what Reset is. But it's really targeted at business leaders. Like, what do you do with the world in a post-pandemic sort of workplace? Mm-hmm. How do employees think? What do they value? How hard will they work? Or will they work? The gig economy, right, changed the whole game. So people don't have to go work for an employer. They can be their own employer. So all of that is what led me to write this book, because it literally is an upheaval that we've experienced in 3 years.
No doubt. So that was my first question for you, kind of looking at this upheaval, because, we're still experiencing the fallout from all of this, even the mail and FedEx, and, go to the airport, I mean, what it's like
Christmas
there.
travel. Oh, my God. Right?
You survived.
Yes, it was rough. I was going to say, it wasn't on Southwest, but I made it on.
Exactly. But between the storms and everything,
Yes.
it was nuts. So we're living in this upheaval and change constantly, and it's very stressful, obviously, right, for everyone. But I mean, does your book talk about this at all? When will we normalize? When will we reach? And it's not going to be the old normal. It's going to be a new normal. We're getting there.
So, what we realized when writing the book is the new normal is going to be full of change forever. So, we used to say, we do a 5-year strategic plan in a business. And then we went to 3 years because the world changed too much in 5 years. And now we are revisiting our strategic plans once a year. In other words, there are things happening in very short periods of time. I mean, game-shifting things are occurring. I was thinking the other day, in my lifetime, and I'm not an old guy, but we didn't have a cell phone. right?
Isn't that funny?
Think about that.
So true.
And so my daughter doesn't know what one would do without. She's 12
For
years
sure.
old, and I'm like, well, and her older brother wasn't
Didn't
raised with,
have-
right? So,
right.
and he's in his 30s. So it's a
Crazy.
really interesting world. The big takeaway is life has changed forever, and it's going to continue changing more quickly.
Right.
So we used to see, a shift every decade. Now it's every year.
It feels
And
like
people are
it.
going to have to get comfortable with being
Change.
uncomfortableness, and because change brings being uncomfortable. And so that's creating a level of stress. I like the word of that, the use of that word in the workplace. People are like, just as soon as I figured it out, the organization rearranged, reorganized, laid off, blah, blah,
Right.
blah,
Got acquired.
turnover.
Right.
I just got used to my manager. And my God, 8 months later, they left to go to another. So now I've got to get used to
I know that.
and that never happened. Think about it. We were
Didn't
used
happen.
to 3 years because the old rule, at least when I was growing up, was you need to stay on a job a couple of years. You don't want your resume to look like you've been hopping. Well, now there's nothing wrong with hopping.
Yeah.
Which means your managers hop, you hop, everyone hops, and all of that puts a lot of stress on the workplace and the worker.
And the worker. No doubt. So that's interesting. So then getting used to that change is just going to be the reality and kind of being able to be adaptable.
Right. You can no longer make the promises that we used to make in management. Go way, way back and used to say, if you do your work, come to work every day and stay out of trouble, you can retire from this company.
Right.
That's done. Way done.
Right.
And then 5 years ago, we said, if you come to work every day, you work hard to do, we'll give you a merit increase every year, you'll get a bonus, and the stock prices will go up and life will be good.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's not true. So, it's literally, when we talk about an age of upheaval, that's what people are dealing with. Now,
that is it.
When will that change? Is the question you ask. It's not likely. That's the sobering reality.
Right.
This is the new normal. It really is. And so many things are happening macroeconomically. First of all, we used to sort of operate in this little thing called the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And now everything is global. So when something happens in the Ukraine, that directly impacts us today. And not just because on the military front, right? The cost of goods, it was the breadbasket of America. So everything flows through.
Yep. And more quickly.
And more quickly. And thus
no
the
doubt.
change.
Right?
Yes, some part of the world gets gas, something happens and your fuel can double. Interest rates double in a year. Double. That's unheard of.
It is unheard of.
Right.
So, so thinking about that, that's the new normal. So what do you suggest to workers and to the business?
Yes.
How do we succeed in this how do we not, lose our minds?
That's right.
How do you not lose your business? How do you succeed as a business and as a worker today in that new normal?
So, and this will sound almost trite, but you've got to remain calm. And no, I mean seriously.
Right.
That's what we're telling people. You
panic.
Can't react to everything. This morning we woke up, and if you're watching the news, Coinbase announced 25% layoff. Earlier this week, Amazon, 18,000 employees. Everywhere you turn, there's change occurring, and it's impacting the workplace. And you can't help it. Even if you don't work at one of those companies, you think, well, when is it going to happen to me? Is my employer contemplating that very thing right now?
Yes.
And one of two things happen. You're an employee, you sit and say, maybe I need to go get me a new job, to go to a safe place.
Right.
Because, guess what? News America, no place is safe, right? The big companies, like Salesforce announced to lay off, right? These are companies that you thought this wouldn't happen. Okay, so that's number one. The second thing is managers have to really build their empathy muscle. It's a muscle that is atrophied over time. We don't seem, it's easy to say, well, that's their problem. I'll just come here and do my work, and I don't care about what's happening in your life. But that doesn't work anymore. Right? Employees won't work in environments like that, and frankly, it's not good for you either. Because one day you could be impacted personally by things happening in your life. So a big focus now on empathetic leadership. That is really, really important. You've got to be a better leader. But here's the catch for those listening. Employees also have to be empathetic. It's the funny thing. So we use this term. Employees don't want empathy. They want empathy, which means empathy toward them.
Toward them. Just them.
Just them. And they don't care about when my colleague is going through something.
Right.
Not my boss, just my colleague. Sure. So this whole idea of us, and this is going to sound kind of Pollyanna, but we've got to be kinder.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. In the workplace, we've got to be kinder. everyone's going through seismic shifts, and the culture, the way we have operated historically, is your work life's here, your personal life's here, and the two shouldn't
Definitely.
cross. And that's not the world.
It's
During the
not.
pandemic, we brought
Hey,
work to your home.
exactly.
So now
it's merged.
it's merged forever. That's one of the biggest takeaways, and we talk
Yeah,
about it in the
it's
book,
really
right?
interesting. That makes perfect sense. So that kind of empathy, leadership with empathy, and also for the worker in the workplace, have empathy for others.
Including management.
Yes,
See, that's the funny thing.
which is great.
Anecdote, someone came into me and said, my manager was really rude to me. I said, did it ever dawn to you that your manager this morning dropped the kid off and had an argument with the kid, had an argument with their spouse? So you don't know what they're like. Just like you would want your manager to be, understanding of your situation. Every day is not going to be a great day for them, for you. It's not always going to be great for that person either. So we just have to get to this point. Again, this high idea of being kinder and empathetic. Just let me understand what might be going on in that person's world today. And that will solve a lot of the anxiety and angst that exists.
Yeah, just refuse that
Totally.
right away.
But you've got to exercise it, because naturally,
For sure.
we're focused on self.
Exactly. So that's really interesting, and I think that's a great. Love to cover that in the magazine and talk about kind of training,
Yes.
or trainings within the workplace for that,
and intentionality around that. So
Yes.
I'm glad you said there should be truly, and we advocate for this, culture and empathy training.
Right.
Historically, those were soft words.
Right.
If you were in HR, you said, "Oh, I'm going to do culture training," people are like, "Oh gosh." And if you talked about, but the world needs that right now. What we know is that in times past, we focused a lot on physical health.
Mm-hmm.
What we are seeing as a result of the pandemic is a focus on mental health.
Absolutely.
And we didn't do that in times past.
No.
It was the Fitbit, the gym membership, stop
Totally.
but it wasn't arguing. Right?
Exactly. And
now
so many
it's shifted.
people aren't.
And the pandemic shined a bright light on that.
Yeah,
And so
which is
it is great, right? We now are looking to have parity.
Yes.
Physical health and mental health. Both of all parts of us need to be healthy.
Wonderful. I love this. So, last question regarding kind of looking at that, problem they're having, our leaders, hiring and training and then retaining. So, any kind of pearl of wisdom you can impart there, and even if that involves that kind of empathy, part.
So something I shared with the audience today, and I wish you were there, but it's the focus on culture. We talk about culture, the formerly soft word, but the reality is it's a really hard word to get right.
Definitely.
And I would tell anyone listening, the number one thing that you can do, either as the owner, the physician, or whatever of the business, a people manager within the business, is you've got to sit down and decide with a intentionality. What is the culture that I want in the shop? Like, what does it mean to work here? What's going to be the experience? Write it down, and then identify behaviors so that you show people these are the behaviors, because you can have a value statement we've all seen,
right?
Our guiding principles, our values, etc., but they're a little amorphous. Literally go through the exercise of articulating what it means to work here, not what it means to the aspirational culture, but the actual culture. And there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
If you do that and then infuse that into your organization from recruitment, bring people in and say, this is the job and this is the culture. And only hire people who can do the job and who are aligned with the culture. If you don't do both,
smart, right? You got to do that from the beginning.
Because that's what's leading to the turnover.
Right.
And they're going to be people who leave for money. Got it.
Sure.
That happens. And people will stay for a while and then they just want to change their life. Yes. But more likely than not, people are leaving because they don't feel that cultural connection.
Totally.
And we as leaders of any type of business, especially small and medium-sized businesses like many of your members are, you've got to create a distinct and unique culture, because that will keep your employees from going to the big companies.
Right. Exactly. I love this. We have an article coming up in our next issue. It's our kind of staff training and hiring and retention column, which has been our most popular.
That's right.
But it's all about, in the olden days, used to offer commissions to those kind of opticians and the sales folks in the optical dispensary. And now they're saying, nope, experiences and culture and involving everyone, taking the whole group to, an amusement park
Consistent.
or
That's right.
doing something consistent with your culture. So it's a great tie-in to this if folks want to be reading. Yeah,
And
for
I got
sure.
to tell you, this is just not. That's not going away. It's not going away. And for anyone
Okay.
who rolls their
That's
eyes
the
and thinks,
future.
"Oh my God, you're going to take your people out," those team building exercises, they matter getting to know people. There's nothing worse. For example, I just had, I'll tell you this, but CEO of a major company sent two or three of his executives a bottle of wine. And two of them were so just offended by it.
Wow.
They were non-drinkers.
He didn't know.
He didn't care to.
Interesting.
You said, "I care,"
right? I care.
I care. He just
didn't
And the
know.
employees registered it.
Sure.
They were like, "So you went and bought a $500 bottle of wine for me? Great, if I
Right.
drank wine, and you didn't even care to
To
know."
know.
That's what's
Yeah.
happening, guys. Is your employees are deciding every day, "Am I going to stay in this work marriage?"
Right.
And think about it. If your husband or your spouse or your significant other, your partner, has not taken the time to get to know you and know what you value and what you don't value, why would you stay?
Exactly.
I mean, you're making the rest of the world attractive to them.
Exactly.
So think about it that way. The work relationship is no different than friendships and familial relationships. It's the same intimate relationships. It's like people stay voluntarily. They
For
don't have to
sure,
stay,
right? Exactly.
And if you don't go out of your way, it may sound, take them to an amusement park, but that bonding, I mentioned that Gallup has some great research that says the number one indicator or predictor of people staying in a job is, do you have a friend at work? Do you have a friend?
Interesting.
So it's amazing. It's, do you have a friend at work? And I would tell you that's just fascinating.
Right.
Because it says you spend most of the time that you're awake at work, unless you're a trust fund kid. You're going to go to someone's job, right? And so you got to enjoy that. You must.
Totally.
And so employers have to figure out how to make sure you get that glue that'll make people stick.
Which is probably hiring for the culture.
That's it.
Because if you hire like-minded people that are kind of then they'll naturally.
Then they enjoy being around them.
Exactly.
That's how we do it,
I
right?
love
So
it.
that's going to be the secret to getting the great resignation, or what we call the turnover tsunami, to get it under control.
Right.
Because we are going to have, there will be more jobs than people looking for jobs for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Period. The number's upwards of 10 million right now, people open jobs, and there are only about 4.5, 5 million people looking for jobs. So this isn't going to resolve overnight.
No.
Anyone who thinks that the great layoffs and all of that and a bad economy, yes, it'll dip. So maybe you go down to 7 million jobs, but there's still only 4 or 5 million people looking. So you're still going to have a delta, and it's culture. Culture is the secret weapon.
I love it. This is so awesome. Thank you so much for
having
sharing
me.
all of this
Beautiful
with us.
place.
I know. I could stand here all day.
Fridays in the future so that I can spend the weekend here.
Exactly.
That's right. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate all your time. And
Absolutely.
thank you all for joining us.
Thank
We'll
you.
be back again tomorrow morning with another live stream with Brian Bolio on the economic update for this year. And thank you again. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.